a lower level of play, several different things. But y'all, I can't wait to get into this discussion because y'all, we're getting ready for the NBA playoffs right down the street on Saturday in Denver. Y'all, this is gonna be a show. Y'all know what time it is. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? We are here with Locked On Nuggets. Hope you're having a great day. Hope things are going well for you, man. Shout out to you all. This has been a very, very interesting close to the season, y'all. This is the week. Today is the play-in. This week, the Denver Nuggets are taking on their first playoff game versus the Los Angeles Clippers. And honestly, I'm really excited for this matchup. There's a lot that we're going to get into over the next few days, Ryan, Matt, and myself. We're going to have a lot of conversation about some of the matchups to look out for, some of the advantages that the Clippers have, some of the advantages that Denver have. How are the Nuggets planning to attack the defense with Chris Dunn and Zubac and the rest of them? How are they planning to be able to defend James Harden, Zubac, and Kawhi Leonard? There's going to be a lot to get into, but today, I wanted to take some time to do some reflecting on the regular season and to reflect on just how we feel, how the community feels the Denver Nuggets players played as a whole this year. I know you got a chance to talk with Matt and Ryan a little bit just about some of the things that happened this season, y'all, but I really was going through this list in my head. Who on the Denver Nuggets roster has just outright exceeded expectations? Based on how they played this year, were they playing up to par? Were they having the best years of their career? At stretches of important moments this year versus playoff teams, versus teams that were in the hunt, versus the teams that you want to see if you can match up with going into the NBA playoffs. All of those matchups, how did they perform and how did they fare? And so we're going to get started with the starters first. And I'm going to start this whole thing off with Jamal Murray. Now, here's the thing. Jamal Murray actually ended up having a very sneaky year this year. And one of the reasons I'm saying that is, if you look at, I'm going to use B-Ball Index for this as well, because I want to give some actual context to what the player did on a game-by-game basis, how they actually graded out as a player overall with kind of B-Ball Index, their conglomeration of different analytics and play style things that they keep track of that can help us in this conversation. Now, if you look at Jamal Murray's report card on B-Ball Analytics, I mean, overall shot talent, he was an A+. He was an A-level finisher this season. Defensively, he was a D- rim protector. He was an F help defender this year, and he also wasn't a good post defender. Didn't hit offensive rebounding at all. He was an elite mid-range shooter. He had a lot of gravity as a shooter. He was an elite three-point shooter this year. Offensively, he also had a really good season as well. And then for guards, he actually is like a sneaky, really good screener as well. And if everybody kind of remembers this year for Jamal Murray, the year started off not great, in part because of injuries. And really what happened was there was the first 14 games of the year in which he played that he wasn't good. But then he had the next 53 games after that. Jamal Murray on the year, he played a total of 67 games. And in those 67 games, he averaged 21 a game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot really well from the field. But if you look at Jamal Murray on the course of the season, I think that's about, let's say, a B-level player. But y'all, last 53 games of the year, you get 22 points a game. You get 6 assists from Jamal Murray. And then he shoots 49, 41, 92 splits the rest of the way. Jamal Murray is going to get a really solid B from me. And I think that he came into the year with injuries, and he came into the year in a horrible shooting slump. You know, some of y'all might remember, I actually said that Jamal Murray, if you look at his numbers compared to D'Angelo Russell and how he started the year off, like, he wasn't great. But then if you look at how he performed after that point, he played very well. And so I think that he actually can look and have a positive overview. He played 8 more games than he did last year. He played even better down the stretch of the year. The last 53 games of the year, you were getting 22, 4, and 6 on 49, 41, 92 splits from Jamal Murray. If he would have did that over the course of the whole year, I think we'd be having a different conversation of the season as a whole. But overall, you look around the league and you look at guards that are having that kind of efficiency on volume, it almost never happens. So I'll give Jamal Murray a solid B because of his play. But again, his lows were extremely low where he gets graded out as a D. And so I can definitely think a lower tier, a B grade is acceptable. All right, now, next up, Aaron Gordon. Now, this is a tough one. I'm going to say that, like, Aaron Gordon's grade is going to be very much affected by how well he shot this year, how his defense performed this year, and injuries. Now, the issue is that I think in order to talk about Aaron Gordon, it's important to note he obviously went through a lot last summer, losing his brother. He also had injuries in a way this year he hasn't had in Denver, and that calf injury, it stayed with him for most of the season. He just wasn't able to be the same kind of dynamic athlete and dynamic defender that he had been in previous iterations. And so this year with AG, he only played 42 games this year, which is just over half. And again, he was probably healthy for 10 to 17 games, I would say he was actually fully healthy for. But if you look at his overall numbers, 14 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, not a steal, not a block a game, but around 15 points a game, 4.8 rebounds, 3 assists. But the thing is, Aaron Gordon shot 53% from the field. He shot 44% from 3 and 81% from the free throw line. He had a 65 true shooting. This was the best shooting year of his career by far. And so I think he gets a lot of credit for that. But y'all, if you just look at like the defensive grades for Aaron Gordon this year, like that's where it gets tough. AG graded out as a C- rim protector, a D, again, this is all B-ball index, a D help defender, and then an A- post defender this year. And for what his job is, like that is just simply not what they needed from him this year. And again, if you just look at like, he had a lot of defensive versatility because he's willing to switch and play versus kind of whoever is on the court. But he didn't guard guards a lot this year at all. And he struggled when he did play versus guards. This year in perimeter defense, he graded out as a B-, perimeter isolation defense, ball screen, he was a B, all ball chase defense, he was a B+. But passing lane stuff, he wasn't good. And especially with the Nuggets this year, you know, because they play so much help at the level or they're playing drop, it just requires Aaron Gordon to be able to do a lot of different things. And this season in particular, I don't think he did those things super well. I'm actually going to give him on the year, I'll say a C+, B-. And I think the offensive stuff is really important. I think that made the team better. But the defensive slippage was so stark that overall that made the team worse this year. And the team performed worse with Aaron Gordon defensively than they had in years. And you know, we remember games where they were playing versus really good guards. We remember even just to close out the season, you know, guarding like John Morant and the rest of them. AG just didn't have the footwork that he used to have back in the day and the side-to-side speed that he had even last year. And a part of the reason the Nuggets slipped from the 8th best defense in the NBA to the 21st best defense in the NBA this year, it's just because they just could not rely on Aaron Gordon to be all the things that he normally would have been for this team. And you saw that a lot, just not as aware off ball this year as he normally has been. And I think as a lockdown defender versus wings, you know, he was pretty good at times, but he just lost a lot of guards. And especially with AG stepping in and no KCP this year, they needed more. The Nuggets this year, they had a 115.34 defensive rating with him on the court, no garbage time. It slipped a lot when he fell off the court. But I think that his ceiling as a whole, as a defender, was just so much lower than it was last year. But I'm actually really excited to see how he does this playoff, because in the first round, he's going to have James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. And those are two matchups, especially versus Kawhi, that he's really built for. And so I'm excited to see how he performs in those matchups as well. But, man, again, rough season. A lot of this is because of injuries and stuff with him. So I don't want to blame him in totality, but I do think it's important to mention. On the other side, we'll finish this list because there are a lot more. We got to get the 3 more starters. We're also going to talk about the rotation players off the bench as well. This is Swiper. This is Locked On Nuggets. Spring is here and life is busier than ever. Between work, family, and everything in between, who has time for grocery shopping and meal prep? That's why I use Hungryroot. It makes eating healthy, delicious meals simple and stress-free. Hungryroot is like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning, offering personalized recommendations based on your taste and health goals. Now, I love how Hungryroot tailors my orders based on what I liked or don't love, and it gets smarter every single time. The meals come together in about 15 minutes or less as well, giving you more time for workouts, family, hobbies, whatever. So take advantage of this exclusive deal. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item. Y'all, we'll be right back for more at Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, we are back here for segment 2 of Locked On Nuggets. Shout out to you all. So glad that you're here. We're talking about the Denver Nuggets grades so far. Make sure, y'all, if you like this video, give us a like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Continuing to get up to 10,000 subscribers. If you're listening to this on the audio side, give us a 5-star review as well. Now let's get to Christian Braun. One of my favorite stories of the NBA season is just how much Christian Braun took a leap as a basketball player this year, and especially given how much he's responsible for. Wow. Christian Braun last year was a good role player. He was a good player off the bench, but then Christian Braun took a legitimately great leap to become a legitimately really good player in this league. 15 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.1 steals, 58% from the field, 40% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line, 66.5 true shooting for Christian Braun this year. This is an A. Yeah, it's an A. And I think for him to take the leap as he did as an offensive player, especially utilizing his athleticism and transition the way that he did, honestly, it changed the complexion of the team and just how good they were able to be. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. Defensive versatility, he offers a lot. He spent a lot of time guarding the team's best guard, and he performed, relatively well in a lot of those settings. But if you just look at some of the defensive data with him, he was a 97th percentile perimeter isolation defender this year. He was a B+ ball screen navigator, 78% percentile. He was an 88% off-ball chaser, an A-. And then he was pretty good off-ball, not anything that's super crazy or anything like that. Not known as a good help defender. And what he really struggled with was a lot of low man stuff this year, either not getting there fast enough when they're playing at the level or just not being big enough to stop rolling bigs and all those other things. But overall, had a good year. He graded out really well as an offensive player. He also worked well as a screener, especially a lot of the 2-5 pick and rolls that they did and work with as well. He was a pretty good passer on the other end. I mean, he did a lot of things really well. And for him to take a step as a 3-point shooter, the numbers aren't bearing it out. His 3-point shooting talent was a D+, but the shooting that he did add, I think it did help the team. But overall, just because of kind of how he functioned within the offense, he really made a living in the long run, being able to run out and transition. And he did well with that. So I'm going to give him an A. Because he deserves it. I think the defensive stuff is a collection of the Nuggets slipping as a whole. But for somebody doing his job, I mean, I think if you're just doing around the league, I would say him, Ivica Zubac, and Dyson Daniels are probably the 3 most improved players this year. And I think he would be, that'd be well deserving if he were to win that. All right. So that's an A for Christian Braun. That's a B for Jamal Murray, and that's a C+ for Aaron Gordon. Now we're getting to Michael Porter Jr. Very interesting year for Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. had a stretch this year, y'all, where he was having an insane career season. And especially when Jamal Murray wasn't playing super well, he stepped up and did the job. 18 a game, 7 rebounds this year, shot 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 77% from the free throw line. And if you look at how his splits work, he didn't close the year off anything crazy. In the month of March, didn't have a great shooting month. But y'all, in the month of February, 22 a game, 9 rebounds, 50, 42, 86 splits, played super well, especially those Pelican games that he had. Then you look how he played in January, 50, 40, 80 splits over the course of that stretch as well. In December, 19 on 55, 43, 72 splits. He gets a B from me. Again, you're going to find a common theme with this episode. That's the biggest thing. If you look at Michael Porter Jr. and his defensive numbers, this was arguably the worst prime defensive year of his career. And him not being able to dribble on the ball, it definitely cost him a lot offensively, but his off-ball stuff is so important. One thing, Michael Porter Jr., he graded out as a 91st percentile offensive rebounder, and I know y'all have probably paid attention to that on the course of the year. He uses his size and timing really well, but he was a 61% percentile rim protector this year, which is a B minus. But rim deterrence, turns allowing for you to get to the rim, he was an F. Help defense, he was an F. Post defense, he's a C minus. And then also isolation defense on the perimeter, he's an F. Ball screen, he's a C. Pickpocket off ball, he's an F. Really bad defensive year. But again, shooting gravity. That's what Michael Porter Jr. does. His shooting gravity is what makes him what he is. Off ball, he's an A+ off ball shooter. And then he just really allows for the Nuggets to space out their team. He's the really only true non-Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic spacer they have. And especially as a tertiary player, he does that at a really high level. I'm going to give Michael Porter Jr. a C+, maybe even a C. I think the C+ is just, I really think it's a really hard thing when you have to be such an elite off-ball player on the year, and when you don't do that well, and on top of that, you're a negative defender. I mean, that really just cost the team a lot, and I think that where the team is, he had some really, really good months. But look, teams target him, and they're going to target him a lot in the playoffs, especially the playoff matchup coming up. So I think a C+ is fair for him. But Michael Porter Jr., C+, Aaron Gordon, C+ as well. And I think that also notes like kind of why the team has struggled to the degree that it has. All right, the last starter, the MVP, the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. I mean, it's an A+. Like, it's an A+. I mean, it's just the things that he did this year. The thing that he did not do well this year, he was a horrible rim protector, which is what he is. He's never been a good rim protecting. This is one of his worst rim protecting seasons. But rim deterrence, keeping you from out of the paint, he was 100 percentile. Help defense, he was a 95th percentile help defender this year, and he's a B level post defender this year as well. But y'all, this season, he was an elite offensive rebounder, elite at putbacks. He was an extremely efficient player. His shooting gravity was insane. His off-ball shooting gravity was insane. His three-point shooting talent was insane. Like, everything he did, post playmaking, post scoring, the passing efficiency, the versatility, the on-ball gravity, the spot-up shooting, the isolation stats with him, the shot making this year, the mid-range shooting stuff, the floaters this year. Jokic was insane the whole season. And what he was able to do as a floor raiser this year is unprecedented. I think he should win MVP. He's going to be my vote for MVP this year, especially the last stretch of the year that he's had. The defense stuff really struggled. And again, if you look at the numbers, it's the rim protection stuff that really weighs him down. And I think that matters. I think if you're going to have a criticism for any player, it matters that you're having that many things you can't do. And Jokic cannot guard anybody but centers, and he can't guard anybody but centers and wings. And then when he struggles versus really fast guards. But again, like, how many players don't? But overall, an elite season, all-time great season for Nikola Jokic. This is probably the best basketball I've ever seen a player play, especially on the offensive end. And I think what he had to do to help the Nuggets get to 50 wins this year. And if you just kind of look at like just the other grades overall, like basically everything is telling you like he was just by far and away the most important player on the roster. And he did everything that he could in order to make it work this year. So Jokic gets an A+ this year. So the starters, you get a A for Christian Braun. You get a B for Jamal Murray. I think a C+ for Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. And Jokic gets an A+ because, I mean, all-time great season. What else can you expect? On the other side, we're going to talk about the bench players and the rotation players. I'll go through that fairly quickly. And then I'm going to give an overall team grade because I think the team grade, I think it's indicative of a lot of things that happened this season, y'all. And I know a lot of y'all have a lot of interesting opinions about that as well. But we'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Now, if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about it. When was the last time you had a service emergency? If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the number one business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or computer. Now, I love that I don't need to carry two phones. With OpenPhones, I can manage business calls and text from one app, whether I'm at my desk or on the go. Now, OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you're switching from another service, OpenPhone will even port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. We'll be right back. Locked On Nuggets. We are back here for the final segment of Locked On Nuggets, handing out player grades for the Denver Nuggets this season. Now we're going through the rotation players off of the bench, and I'm going to start with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook gets, for me, Russell Westbrook prior to the All-Star break was probably an A-, man. Like, you know, everybody knows I wanted Russ to sign to the team. I thought he offered so much as a shot creator, as an additional defender. Russ, prior to the All-Star break, was an A-. He did not have a good next step of past All-Star break due to injury, shot-making stuff that he wasn't doing, turnovers. So that really sunk his grade. But overall, I'm going to give Russ still a B. You know, I think for a player being asked to be a sixth man and also to insert himself as a starter and to do a lot of the things that he did at this year, like, I think he deserves the credit. You know, he graded out 88th percentile on perimeter isolation defense, 94th percentile as a ball screen navigator, off-ball chaser a B+ this year, pickpocket A-, passing lane defense B+. Like, he graded out really well defensively, you know. But again, once he started gambling more and missing more as the year went on, but I think he gets a lot of credit for everything that he really added to the team. A-level playmaking talent, A+ level passing creation volume, A+ level passing creation quality, and A+ passing versatility. Like, for what he did, that's what you can ask for. And I thought Russell Westbrook, the B, he 100% deserves. I think he did a lot of really good things for this team. Up next, a surprise, Jalen Pickett. I mean, again, grading bench players off of what we expected, Russ being a B, B+, really an A before the All-Star break. Jalen Pickett's an A. I mean, I didn't think he was playing this year. I did not think he was playing this year. I didn't think he had the ability to truly play this season. But Jalen Pickett, in the minutes that he had this year, like, he was a good ball screen defender. Like, he offensively added another touch of playmaking and some additional scoring that they needed on the roster. Like, he hit his three-point shots this season. I think that he showed like a level of floor raising as a passer and decision maker that really helped this team. 4 points a game, but he shot 43, 40, 75 from the field this year, and he stepped in to start games this year as well. Jalen Pickett gets an A because for a second-round pick, like, for him to step into the role that he did and to be able to assist when Russ was hurt or Russ wasn't figuring out, and then when Jamal Murray was hurt, that's an A. And again, it's not an A relative to the rest of the league. It's an A relative to the role. So Jalen Pickett, career season, great response from him this year. He gets an A. Up next, Peyton Watson. Again, Peyton Watson, very similar to Russ. When Peyton this year was healthy, when you started for Aaron Gordon, I was like, dude, this is everything you were hoping he was going to be. He offers a good amount of defensive versatility. He guards a lot of the best players for the other team. And if you just kind of look at his numbers, his offensive grades and stuff weren't there, but an A-level isolation defender, an A+ level ball screen navigator, an A- off-ball screen navigator. And he's going to have a really, really, really big job this upcoming playoffs as well. Now, he gets a lot of open shots because that's just the way he's guarded. He's not going to be guarded consistently. Now, he doesn't convert at a high enough level to really make the defense pay and really to change the way he's being guarded. But again, if he can find a hot streak like PJ Washington did in the playoff, that can change. 35% from three for him. It was 70. He was at 37.7% at one point in time. I'm going to give Peyton Watson I will give Peyton a C plus to a B. I think the offensive stuff, again, it waned as the year went on. But the defense, I think the defense is what's carrying him. I think that's a B plus, but I think the offense, because of the issues, is about a C minus right now. So that's why his grade is being leveled out to a B. Up next on this list, I'm actually going to go with Julian Strawther. It's a little bit of an incomplete. Julian, he also had like some stretches this year where he looked really good, but the Nuggets needed shooting. The Nuggets needed a floor spacer. Julian's guarded as a floor spacer, but he only shot 35% from three this year. 9 points a game, 43% from the field, 82% from the free throw line. No, unfortunately to Julian, he's still learning. And because he's still learning, that's something that he is struggling with to figure out like what he needs to do in every single possession. But he was a horrible isolation defender, a 2 percentile isolation defender this year. He was getting attacked at that top switch, like Luka and LeBron, for instance. Like he's horrible at reading that. Didn't do a good job at that. Off ball defense and stuff with him, not great. It's an F. Post defense is an F. So on the perimeter, off the ball, and also in the post, he's just a clear negative defender. And then on top of that, the thing that has to make him truly like worthwhile for the Nuggets is he has to be able to make shots. And if you just look at it, off-ball gravity and the other numbers around him, he just didn't convert enough shots. So I'm going to give him a C. I'm giving Julian Strawther a C. Just didn't end up being the year that we were all hoping he was going to have, but that's going to be a C for Julian Strawther. Up next, Zeke Naji. Now, Zeke Naji, that's another one, man. Like, Zeke is just like, he had a moment this year, like a month stretch, where it was like, wow, thank goodness. Zeke's playing the 4 now, which is a part of the issues with Michael Malone and all that stuff. He's playing 4. He's working well with Jokic. He's playing really good defense. Everybody remembers that Detroit Pistons game where he had 3 blocks in the first half. And it was just like, this is exactly what they need. I mean, even, some of my coworkers for Player Store, they were like, man, they need to start Zeke. Like his defensive versatility, like he's doing a lot of really good things. He graded out as an A rim protector, a 91st percentile rim protector this year, and a B plus help defender this year. Like that's really good. Like a B minus as an off-ball chaser, as a big. Again, giving him a C. Just not good enough consistently, not good enough in certain spots. But again, he had moments where he looked like he was a B plus. But on the totality of the season, especially for a player that's been the 5th highest paid player on the roster, they needed more. Now, I want to be careful because I do think he had moments of a B, but I think that the floor for him was also a C. And I just want to be fair that I think he's going to be rated about a C for me this year as well. DeAndre Jordan, really quick, for his role, I'll give him a B. He had to play a lot of tough spots this year. You get Vlatko Cancar is an incomplete. He just didn't do, like, he didn't have a lot. He just wasn't able to do a lot to contribute to this team. Dario Saric just like an F, but that's not Dario's fault. Like Dario Saric being an F is just as much an indictment of him being signed to the roster and Calvin Booth's decision-making into giving him $5.5 million a year, basically, to Dario just not being a good basketball player as the 6th highest paid player on the roster. So you get Zeke Naji and you get Dario Saric, who are the 5th and 6th highest player on the roster. And on the year, they truly just they didn't give you enough. They didn't make up for the lack of talent on the roster. Like if they had 2 other players making $8 million a year and $5 million a year that were both positive players for the Denver team, their record would be way better. The situation that they're in currently right now would be way better, because that way you would give them like legitimately 8 really good rotational players and Russ, Watson, and 2 additional players. And they could even be better than both of those players. But because they underperformed so drastically for the money they had, that really is what like hurting the team. So team grade, I'm giving the Denver Nuggets. I said this on another platform today. They were probably a D for me. For a team that won 57 games last year, with a top 8 offense and defense last year, it had the MVP last year. If you would have told me Jokic was averaging 13, and 10 on 67 true shooting, and he was playing at the best basketball of ever, and I think maybe the best made the best season that I ever seen from an offensive standpoint. I would have thought they would have been pushing 60 games, but they weren't because the personnel was so bad. And then Calvin Booth and Coach Malone get fired. That's why it's a D for me. Now, come playoff time, they beat the Clippers. They play versus the Thunder. They beat the Thunder. They play versus the Lakers. They beat the Lakers or push it to a competitive 7-game series or something. Hey, then we're moving up to an A. We're moving up to an A given the circumstances. But right now, this is a D. I think they underperform, and they have not met expectations. And too many of the other players on the roster underperformed as well. What do y'all think, y'all? What grades would you give the Denver Nuggets starters, the Denver Nuggets reserve players, and what grade would you give the Denver Nuggets on the season in totality, y'all? This is Swipe Up. This is Locked On Nuggets. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. See you on the other side.